What is going on, everybody? This is Josh from Sorcerer Studios and welcome back to another video. Now in this video the topic is, should games, AAA or indie, cost $60? Here is my take on this situation. So the very first thing I thought about when I thought about this topic is the fact that, at least in the United States, the market is the market, meaning if the demand for the game is high enough, then people will be willing to pay $60 for this game, or whatever game they're trying to make. So pretty much the question is, today, are people willing to buy a game for $60? So let's think about the different ways that a game can take $60 out of your pocket. The first way is obviously a $60 stand-up price, which means that you get the game for $60, you have the game, and they leave you alone. But obviously, in days like today, that is not the only way that you can spend $60 on a game. There are microtransactions, which most of the times occur on free games. There are certain items like loot crates and DLCs, and unfortunately, that seems to happen a lot on the $60 games and all the other different prices of games. So there are obviously many ways that a game can make you spend $60. Now, whether you yourself want to spend that $60, that is up to you. But here are some possible reasons as to why that $60 price tag has stayed around for so long. So reason number one, and I'll just get this reason out of the way, is inflation. Now, as you know, inflation is typically positive. It has risen by roughly between 2 and 3% in the United States. And with this in mind, these games should really have raised their prices if they wanted to keep their $60 price tag at the same market value as it was 10 years ago. Now, why haven't they done this? Well, back to the scenario of the market being the market, if you raise the price, not specifically keeping it at the same value, but if you raise the price from, let's say, $60 to $70, that means that there is a possibility that the demand for the game can go down. Now, this, right now, has been countered with the population of the community in gaming over the past 10 years growing very rapidly. So it could be inferred that many of these AAA companies keep the price the same to not lower the demand for the game. But with all that set aside, really the purpose of these companies is to profit and make money off of the games that they are making. And if their game that they release does not make any profit, then there really was not much of a point to make the game because they lost money. So basically these games are trying to make money, and they're going to try to do whatever they can do to break a profit, or make 2 times the amount that they spent on the game, 3 times, etc. Now, the budget for AAA games, as you might have known, has gone up quite a bit, with the implication of very good graphics, very good mechanics. Basically, the overall quality of games, of AAA games at least, has gone up by quite a bit. Now, let's take a look at a case study. This is Battlefield 4, which was made in 2014. Based on the sources that I found, the estimated budget for that game was $100 million. Now, that is an astronomical amount of money. Now, let's take a look at how many copies they would need to sell at $60 to break even for the cost of the budget. So 100 million divided by 60, that is roughly 1.66 million copies. Now, that is the gross profit. We did not take into effect taxes, royalties that they might have to pay to other websites to host the game, and also any other maintenance fees or updates that they would have to spend. So with that in mind, I'm going to say, let's say they got taxed roughly 30% for each copy that they got sold. That would raise the amount of copies that they would have to sell to roughly 2.1 million copies. Now, this game was released back in 2014, and accordingly they were able to sell roughly 7 million copies within that year. But while they were successful, they were still playing pretty much a huge game of Risk. If you have a huge budget, let's say $1 million, and that's pretty much most of the money that your company has, which could be the case in this scenario, and you make this game, and you spend all that money, and then you sell it, and it turns out being a flop. You pretty much just wasted $1 million or close to $1 million. And obviously, as that price tag for making the game goes up, the risk increases exponentially, because that's a lot of money lost if you do lose that money. Now, if you're an indie game developer, let's say your budget is $200. Now, while that could be a lot for some people, for just in general, that is not really a huge amount of risk. And I hate to say this, but you can make that $200 back working 8 to 5 for roughly 2 days. So that's pretty much what I mean by high risk, but there's also high reward. So that could be one reason why they have kept the price tag at $60 and not lowered it, because roughly the budget for most AAA games these days have risen quite a bit. Now, there are other ways that a game can pretty much profit $60 from you. There are microtransactions, loot crates, and DLCs, and while the initial price of the game might be free, they might have these items, and trust me, a lot of people take advantage of these, and they do end up paying $60 for a game that was not originally $60. Now, is this reasonable? Well, in most cases for the microtransactions, this does enforce something called pay to win. Now, some people are fine with this, while others absolutely resent it. But here is a really good case that I might want to bring up about this, and that is the PUBG, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, versus Fortnite scenario. Now, even though PUBG is not $60, it's only $30 currently, this is a good scenario between a higher price game and a free game with microtransactions. And basically, PUBG, it's a one-time cost of $30, and you pretty much have the same opportunity as everyone else. Whereas in Fortnite, it's free, but there are microtransactions to get better items that basically enforces a pay-to-win scenario. Now, whether you like that or not, that's up to you. But basically, the scenario is, would you rather pay $30 and be on an equal playing field for everybody, or would you rather spend $30 on a free game through microtransactions and be, I suppose, a step above most other people? And you can say, okay, well, I'm going to get this game for free, and I'm not going to spend any money on it, and I'm just going to try my best. And that is fine with some people. I personally, I admit, I played some Clash of Clans a couple years ago, and I was just fine with not spending any money on any gems or anything. But other people, they would rather pay that $60 or $30 or however much money they are spending to pretty much have all of the content that everybody else is spending. So here's my take on this. I think as long as there are options to get games at a lower price that are similar to the $60 games, I think that the $60 games should remain $60. For starters, with the inflation, they really should be above $60, but most AAA companies have kept the price at the same price as they were roughly 10 years ago. So that is good for people having to spend, I suppose, less money as far as value goes. And also, I typically, personally, I wait until the game goes on sale before buying it, which is what a lot of companies do. So if you want to get a $60 game without spending $60, just wait for it to go on sale, and then you'll get it at a much lower price. And the decision between pay to win and basically pay for everything, that's pretty much up to you. I'm okay with pay to win. well, I don't pay to win. I just try to use my skills as best I could. But recently I have been getting a couple of other games I did choose PUBG over Fortnite, but that's because a couple of friends wanted me to play with them. But other than that, it's pretty much up to you between the microtransactions and the one-time payment. If you are really invested into the game that you are in, then it is completely justifiable to have it to pay for microtransactions, DLCs, loot crates, etc. But if you do not want something like that, then it is best to avoid certain games like that to pretty much be on an equal playing field. And that factored in with the huge budget, the ever-growing budget that certain AAA games have these days, I think that the $60 price tag is probably a good price to stay at this point. And that is my take on it. So there are a lot of other factors that go into this. I just listed a few, but please let me know what you think. I want to know what your opinion is. Please leave a comment on whether you agreed with these viewpoints or not, and please defend what you say so other people don't say, hey, you're wrong, but then you'll actually have some real points to back it up with. So I really want to know what you have to say, and I'll be looking for your opinions in the comments. So yes, if you liked what I had to say, please like this video. If you hated it, well, you know what button to press. So without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.